for our next piece. This is a work by Christian Sinding, who's a little better known in Norway, although this article describes him as the forgotten Norwegian composer. I guess there's a couple of those. Sinding was about 15 years after Grieg. He was born in 1856, and he would live a pretty long life up until 1941. If you played piano as a youngster, you might know there's one piece of his that's very famous called Frühlingsrauschen, or Rustle of Spring, that a lot of pianists would play. I think even Liberace played that piece a lot. It was very popular for a while, but a lot of his other music has again been largely forgotten. He also studied at the Leipzig Conservatory. He was a very good violinist, so he wrote several different works for violin, including 2 different serenades. We're doing the first one that he wrote in 1902. He wrote 4 different symphonies, and he actually spent a couple of years in the 1920s teaching at the Eastman School of Music in Rochester. So he came over to the United States and taught here as well. And he again wrote about 200 songs, just like Alneas did. The reason I think that we don't know him so well, though, is that he dies in 1941. And of course he has dementia at the end of his life. And it was discovered that there was a Nazi card with his name on it. Even though he's not signed, and there's some debate now about whether he was actually part of the Nazi Party, knew what he was doing. But because of that, he kind of got erased a little bit in Norway. There was a real sort of a move against Sinding because of this thought that he had become part of the Nazi Party there. So for about 20 years, his music was not really performed in Norway, and it really didn't get out. So we're only sort of rediscovering him now. But he writes some really romantic, a little bit over the top at times, music. This is a wonderful piece he writes in 1902, Serenade. I think the program, I have 5 movements in there. There's only supposed to be 4 movements, so excuse that mistake. It's a wonderful first movement, a beautiful march in that, and then again, like in the Alneas, there's a quiet part in that first movement, and then we go back to that great march. There's another fantastic second movement. This time Glenn gets the big opening and beautiful, beautiful harmonies. There's a very sort of a light third movement, kind of a sorbet movement, just very short, lots of light playing in it. And then there's a crazy last movement with lots of excitement in it, and the last couple pages are just pure hell on the violinists, so it's nice to see them suffer a little bit. So here's Sinding. Sarasate, one of the great violinists of the 19th century, born in Pamplona, Spain, where they run the bulls in the Navarre region of Spain. Born in 1844, apparently his father was an amateur band leader there and knew how to play lots of different instruments. And at some point when Pablo was 5 years old, he was with his father, and his father was trying to work out something on the violin. And Pablo just grabbed the violin and played it perfectly. So soon enough, Sarasate was playing concerts all across Spain at the age of 7, age of 8. Queen Isabella's found out about him, and they made sure he got into the Madrid Conservatory when he was 8 years old, and then was sent to the Paris Conservatory at the age of 12. And just sort of amazed audiences. He had apparently just a beautiful tone, an incredible vibrato, and just brought the instrument to life. He and sort of Paganini were the great ones of the century. And he traveled not only in Europe, he got all the way to Russia, and then in the 1870s, I believe, he came over to the United States and did a long tour here in the US and then down to South America. So he really traveled the world, one of the first great traveling virtuosos. And he lived long enough, actually dies in 1908. He is one of the first two great violinists to make a recording in 1904, although it's a pretty crackly recording, but there is a recording of Sarasate playing. Brooke actually wrote his Scottish Fantasy in one of his violin concertos for Sarasate. But really what kept Sarasate at home was all the music that he remembered from his region, the Navarre region. And this piece he wrote in 1889 for two violins and piano was really just a tribute to that area with all the wonderful, vibrant folk music. And there's a folk instrument there called the gaita, which is kind of a small recorder-like instrument. I think it even has a little bellows, kind of a mini bagpipe in some way. But it can play very high notes that only a dog can hear. You will hear a lot of times in this, especially towards the end, where the violinists are playing in sounds that you didn't think they could make, way up in the stratosphere. It's just a really fun piece for they asked to play this. I'm not torturing them, but it's a wonderful piece of music. Not only do they each have to be virtuosos, but you'll see they have to synchronize all the time, so it's like great synchronized swimming. And there are just some passage works at the end. You'll hear what we call left-hand pizzicato while they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So we hope you enjoy this. We thank you for being here. Again, if you're not on our email list, please do sign up on the way out, and we'll see you there. This is Navarra by Sarasate.